Ideal Protein is a doctor-designed, coach-led ketogenic weight loss protocol that uses food as medicine to empower you to lose weight and live your healthiest life.
And welcome back to the Livingston Parish News Weekly Show, a podcast brought to you by the Livingston Parish News. My name is McHugh David, publisher and editor of the news, and this is Group Therapy. This is the special edition where we get to sit down and talk about what's going on in Livingston Parish. I'm going to let these two gentlemen introduce themselves, especially so those of you who are just listening can put a voice to a name. And we're going to start on the viewer's left today.
Hey, this is Rob DeArmond, sports editor with the Livingston Parish News.
And this is David Gray, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
All right, so let's get started here. I guess we can say let's tee it up. Is that the right sports colloquialism there?
That would be is that golf?
Yeah, because I hate to say kick it off because it's not football season or soccer season. We can't tip it off. It's not basketball.
There's definitely golf going on. Spring
so we'll
sports,
say
man.
tee it up. But really, we're going to start with you today because we have state tournament action coming up this weekend in softball. And the field has been cut mightily on the baseball side. So let's start with baseball, so we can spend some more time on the state tournament in softball. We've had several first round games go down, and some upsets.
Yeah, last night I went to Walker and Como. And Walker, as you guys know, advanced to the state tournament last season. That didn't come to pass. They wind up losing 7-5. The post game was a little bit different. The last time they played a playoff game there at Walker, which is last year, it was jovial and players shaving their heads because they're going to the tournament, things like that. It was a whole lot different because that same group that was juniors last year, that was their last game. And when talking to Coach Sandifer, it's one of those things where he kind of put it in perspective because these guys a lot of them had started as sophomores, and then COVID wiped out that sophomore season for them. So what they know of the end of a season really was last year in Sulphur in a state semifinal game. So he said this was the first real time that they got a taste of what it's actually like when you lose a playoff game. And it's one of those things where for them last night, they're able to hit the ball. They get good pitching, left the bases loaded twice. Just couldn't push some runs across, and they also would think I had them with 6 errors, which was, he said, highly uncharacteristic. He said normally when we've gotten beat this season, teams have just beat us, and he called it. I think he said it was self-destruct mode for him last night. The way things worked out for him. Also had some other games. Denham Springs, Acadiana beat Denham 4-1. Live Oak wins 4-3. They get a run in with 2 out in the bottom of 6 to win that one over Covington. Doyle won 1-0 over Welsh. Caden Barcia had 11 strikeouts in that game for Doyle. Let's see who else. French Settlement lost to Darbon Woods Charter 8-5. Great progress for that program under Kate Savick and Jared Poche this year. Young team, so they'll have a lot of those guys back. And I went to Springfield and Pickering on Monday. That was the one. I don't know if you guys saw it, but had a nice rain delay of just over 2 hours. We kind of hung out there and did that. I went to the car. I was gonna leave, and I told him I went to the car, started doing some interviews, and all of a sudden the skies just kind of cleared out, and then I saw the tarp coming off, and I said, okay, we're gonna go. And sure enough, they wind up winning that one 3-1. 2 out in the bottom of the 5th. Will Taylor steals home, makes it 3-1. Gutsy call at that point, but they get it, and it paid off because Blake Lobel came on in relief in the 7th, and they wind up giving up a run. It winds up 3-2. So that's a gutsy call there in that game.
Yeah. So we've got 4 teams advancing, and everybody else is out. So the
Class B starts today.
Oh, yeah.
Holden will be at home, and then Marpaw will be on the road. So working on that story now. I'll be posting that hopefully. Not hopefully. I will be posting that later on today, Wednesday. So
sounds good. Yeah, and we are recording this on Wednesday. So we're going to jump over to David real quick, and we'll come back to you for the softball because, of course, that is state tournament action. We've got 3 teams heading 3 lady squads heading up there for this weekend's action. So we'll talk about that in a second. Said action way too many times. Getting over to David, first and foremost, big thing coming up this weekend as well as Springfest. I guess I think they have the most vendors they've ever signed up for this particular event because, COVID shut it down, this and Fall Fest. Actually, Springfest was shut down for 2 years, whereas Fall Fest only missed 1, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, because we missed 2020.
No, I don't think so. No, 2021 Springfest was modified.
That's right.
Yes, and then, but they still had a big crowd. But yeah, so Springfest is this weekend, everyone.
Yeah, sorry. Well,
yeah,
I was just going to kind of connect the dots there on, that's why a lot of vendors are interested in coming.
Yeah.
When they finally got it back going, the crowds were huge.
Yeah, the last two, both festivals were able to go on in 2021. They were both canceled in 2020. Now I can't remember because it seems like every other year one of them gets rained out. So maybe that was it. I can't remember which one it was. But yeah, so both festivals were back in 2021 and starting off 2022 with Springfest, and yeah, they have 160 vendors. They're expecting it once again to be another crazy day, but that's what they want there. I mean, that brings in, this is one of the biggest draws, definitely in Denham Springs, and there's some years they might have 10,000 people that go to this festival throughout. So you got 10,000 people, a lot of them from outside of Denham Springs who are coming to the Antique Village to spend money. So I mean, it's a big boost to those to the vendors, to the shop owners, to this to the area in general, because you never know what these people do after Springfest. They might go stop at Bass Pro. Who knows? I mean, so there's a lot of an economic impact that comes from Springfest. So there, as long as the weather holds up, that's the only fallback with this being outside, that you never know with Louisiana weather in the spring. So, but as long as the weather holds up, I mean, you're gonna have the crowds come out. I think for Fall Fest, it usually starts at 9:30, and I got there last year at 10, and it was already jam packed. So, I mean, it's probably gonna be the same way with this if the weather holds.
Sure. So also coming up this weekend, we have an election.
Yes.
Two
Yes.
elections. One in Albany and one for Fire Protection District 4.
Yes.
Packed weekend, man.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Bunch of stuff.
There's other stuff going on this weekend too that we're just not going to be able to be at. They got a lot going on this weekend.
Yeah, we do. So let's talk about those 2 elections real quick.
Yeah, there's no parish-wide item on this weekend's ballot. So if you don't live in one of these areas, you're not going to be able to vote. But the half-cent sales tax is for the Albany School District, and that is going to, if approved, it would help the Albany schools pay for a new middle school gym, a new elementary cafeteria, and eventually a track and field that would be used by all grades. And not only used by all grades, but all schools on the eastern side of the parish would be able to use that. Holden and Springfield schools would be able to use this track and field facility because there's really nothing on that side of the parish for this. Dr. Devin Gregoire, the school board member for Albany, told me that track and field athletes have to either go to Denham, Walker, or Ponchatoula. So this would give Eastern Livingston Parish students something right in their own backyard to be able to use. And this item is kind of this situation has seen a lot of change in November. It was supposed to be on the ballot in November, then Ida hit. It was supposed to go along with the proposed millage because they wanted to ultimately build a new school in the Albany School District, but those construction costs have risen and that kind of fell apart. So they decided to go with just the half-cent sales tax. And Dr. Gregoire pointed out that if you shop outside of Albany, like in Walker, Livingston, those areas, you're already paying a half-cent sales tax for that, for those areas. So this is just allowing the Albany School District to take advantage or to be able to recoup some of that local spending that is done. And there's a lot of businesses out there that he pointed out. You have the Pizza Hut, McDonald's, Carter's. There's doctors and lawyers' offices out there. So all of these would be contributed to that half-cent sales tax that would ultimately go for the schools. It should bring in around $300,000, and some of these improvements are greatly needed, he said. So that is one item. The other item is the $15 million increase for those serviced by Fire Protection District 4, and that would help them pay, upgrade their facilities, add new firefighters. This is the first time since 1975 they've asked for extra funds. Right now they operate on a $10 million property tax, and this would be a $15 million increase for the next 20 years and have to go up for renewal again. But yeah, basically it's just them trying to, they say, those at the District 4 said they've stretched the dollar as far as they can go, but in order to meet the demands of a rapidly growing parish, they simply need more funds. When this was first approved, there was 45,000 people in the parish altogether. Now District 4 covers 60,000 alone just in its district. So covers a third of the parish, by far the biggest fire department in the parish. So this is, that they're just in need of extra funds, and that's why they put this on the ballot. And we'll see what happens this Saturday.
So yeah, lots going down Saturday. One more thing to talk about. We are going to speaking of fire protection, we're going to talk about a firefighter to wrap up the show, but want to talk about real quick before we jump back over to Rob. We talked about Parish President Leighton Ricks vetoing a specific ordinance for specific reasons. The council has basically accepted that veto.
Yeah.
Give us a brief little overview on that.
Yeah, there was no action that was actually needed to be taken. They just, verbally said we accept it, and that's pretty much it. But it just kind of, but yeah, so people don't know, the council passed an ordinance that would have changed building line setbacks, that on state highways and federal highways, that would have just limited or basically banned putting permanent structures within, however many feet of a state federal highway. President Leighton Ricks vetoed that, saying that it infringed on property owners' rights, and the council just ultimately decided to accept that. Tracy Garnhouse is one of the people for this setback ordinance. He stressed that he probably was a little ambitious with saying it for all of the state highways and federal highways in the parish. His main focus was Florida Boulevard, which, his district is Walker, Denham Springs to basically to Livingston. I mean, you got traffic, on Florida Boulevard all the time. It's a major highway, and that was kind of his focus. So he's kind of taking a step back and saying they're going to focus on one highway at a time. That's kind of the new strategy for that going forward. So, I mean, that would probably be one that would, you would see some sort of setback requirement, either changing or discussion on that soon.
Okay. All right, well, we're going to come back to you to talk about a specific firefighter in just a second, but we're going to jump back over to Rob. We got 3 teams heading to the state tourney over in Lake Charles. Softball's played at Frash, isn't it?
Frash.
There you go.
Sulphur Complex.
And so that would be Walker, Holden, and Doyle.
That's correct.
Some pretty typical names here when it comes to softball. So let's start with, and unfortunately scheduling is going to make it tough on you.
Right.
But let's start with Holden.
They're just right back where they need to be. I talked to Coach Andrews, Raven Andrews, first year coach. We talked last night, and just basically they've made a lot of changes. Basically a whole new coaching staff, a lot of the same faces there, but they're in different positions. They're playing different spots, and she said that the team's been really receptive to what they're doing in terms of, okay, we need you to do this, and they just want to win. She said they just want to win, and that's evident by what they're doing here. They're kind of going in with they got a few of them that haven't been in the tournament, and if you haven't been and it's a new experience for you, it can be intimidating just because it's loud. Those fields are not right on top of each other, but you've got multiple games going on at the same time, so it can get really. It may be easy for people to lose their focus, I guess, if you haven't done it before. But she said some of those veteran players who have been there before, and some of these players, you look back and you go, man, they've been doing this since they were in 7th grade, and here they're juniors now, and they've been there, so they're kind of helping these younger players through the process. At the same time, it's Coach Andrews. It's her first time, coaching on this level, and I went out to that. The regional round and, walked in the dugout, went to go get the lineup card, and I could kind of tell she was nervous. I said, you all right? And she said, this is my first playoff game at any level that I've ever done. So I said the girls have to help you out, and she tipped her hat to Coach Rusty Hutchinson, the assistant principal over there, who's the assistant, and with her and David White, who's helping her out too, with helping her out through the whole process of just kind of learning the ropes and things that need to be done. And it's something that I think I told her, we had the conversation, so I said I had to do this story. I said, how is it different for you, and how are you using these kids to kind of learn what you need to do? So I'll be working on that. I'll have that. That'll be out before they play. That is my goal. And they'll be playing Friday at noon, I believe.
Okay. And to the viewers, I do apologize. That was me kicking the tripod. Sorry about that.
I didn't see anything, man.
Yeah, right. Moving on. So next, let's just move up to 2A. Let's talk about Doyle.
Yeah, Doyle picks up a win over Rose Pine to get to the tournament, which, in talking to Coach Amanda DeSalle after that game, it was, that may be the biggest kind of, I guess, milestone that you have to get over. And that was her 200th career win as well. They got that win, so it was that milestone. That was totally unintended, but she got her 200th win. But they're a young team. They've got one senior in KK Savant. It's just and they'll be playing Manny, who's they're the top seed, and if you guys remember correctly, that's who beat them last year in the state championship game. So I don't know if there's necessarily a kind of a revenge type deal here. I don't know if that plays into the deal here. Manny's a really good team. They knocked out French Settlement to get here. But my focus here for these, I don't know if you guys read it, but I posted this one. Did a feature on the Savant sisters going into this one. It's not very often that you see three sisters who are starting for the same team. So we kind of joked about it. They said when they go to tournaments, as people are reading it off, they kind of pause a little bit because they have to make sure there's three Savant names on there, and Coach DeSalle. But they're completely different personalities for them. You got KK, who's she's a senior. She's kind of quiet about what she does. She's the leader, but she's really quiet, but really sure of herself and what she's doing out on the field. Then you've got Kylie. She's a freshman. She's a catcher. She's the complete opposite, the kind of loud one. She's, as a catcher, she said she has to be loud, so that's part of the personality that comes out. And then Allie, who plays in right field, she's a 7th grader. They said the best way to describe her is a mix of the two. So she can be, Coach DeSalle described her as, she can be crazy at times, dancing and stuff in the dugout. But then when she gets on the field, she's quiet. And so you got these three. And for me and for them, it's a big deal that they actually they're getting to go to a state tournament and play together. And they're going to have a lot of extended family. And I know the family is really excited about this opportunity that they have, regardless of what happens, because you just don't see that very often. It was real fun. It was really fun. A fun interview. It was. We might have laughed a few times.
A lot of interplay, huh?
So,
last but certainly not least, the Bomb Squad, 5A Walker, heading in. Who are they playing?
Y'all might have heard of this matchup before. It's Walker and Sanamaw. I went back and checked. We were talking earlier in our staff meeting about them meeting up. They met twice already this year, and Sanamaw's won both of those. But after that last loss that Walker took, they're on they haven't lost since then. I think I counted 20. It's about 23 games. I'm bad at math, so I may be off. That's the reason I write for a living. But it's another matchup. And what I talk with Coach Westmoreland about here is the last time Walker went to the state tournament, these seniors on this team that have been a really big part of what they're doing were freshmen. They lost to Sanamaw in that game. So basically what we kind of talked about was, how do you get from point A to point B? Because a lot of has happened between that, and she said you don't forget that feeling when you get to the tournament and you lose and you have to go back and rebuild. And we talked about the following year, which was the COVID year, where, if you remember correctly, there were so many teams in the parish, both baseball and softball, that were playing well or had just started to kind of turn a corner. And it looked like things were looking up for them, and then COVID put a halt to everything. So you kind of lose that season. And then, they go in and they play Airline last year, and the pitcher for Airline was just on. Had a great game, and they wind up losing in the quarters, one game away. But every one of those games have kind of shaped the way this team is set up and come and done what they've done this year to get to this point. So it's always interesting once we get to the state tournament. Always interesting. Always something going on. It's always fun to do, and we'll be there, man.
Yes, sir. So, and I believe you're heading out tomorrow afternoon.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So, go follow Rob on Twitter or take a look at our Facebook page. He will be posting updates as they come out. So to round out the show, we're going to go back over to David, and we're going to talk about a specific firefighter. And I'm just going to let you take it away.
Yeah, this was a situation that started in last summer 2021. There was we posted a story about this the day it happened. There was a wreck on Pete's Highway involving a firefighter that was that couldn't stop in time, basically, and as the firefighter swerved on Pete's Highway, he struck a car that was driven by an 83-year-old woman who was well known in the community, Miss Gail Ripple, and the fire truck was driven by a firefighter named Cody Couse, 24 years old now, and basically he is now being charged. I want to make sure that I get it correct. He faces a count of vehicular homicide, another count of reckless operation of a vehicle, and basically the issue with this now, it had a hearing. They had a hearing last week for it, and the state determined that, a judge determined that the state has probable cause to move forward in the case, because afterwards, as in the case with any sort of fatal accident, they take a toxicology sample of the drivers involved, and it was determined that there was THC in Mr. Cow's system through the blood work. Now, obviously, there's no way to say when that THC was in there as of right now. That's something that would be talked about whenever it goes to trial. But as of right now, that was enough for the judge to say that the state had probable cause, and that was sort of the argument that happened during the hearing. Miss Ripple's family was there. They're the ones who kind of reached out to me about, just, hey, this hearing's going on soon, and we get so busy, it's kind of hard to keep track of everything that's going on in the parish. But I was glad that they reached out to me, because their issue has been that this has not been, in their mind, maybe handled as well as it could have been. Mr. Cow was arrested about almost 2 months after the accident, and I believe that it was about 3 or so weeks after the accident that they got the blood sample back. So I mean, there's just been a little bit of frustration for them on their part, but as of right now, there's another hearing scheduled for June 13th, so we'll see where that goes. But the biggest thing is that does not prove. Whenever it goes to trial, they will have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Cow is guilty. The prosecution will. This was just determined that there was probable cause, and that's what the judge even said. There's a lot of leeway when it comes to probable cause. So it just means that he has not been convicted or anything. This is just allowing the case to move forward, essentially. So yeah, we'll have another hearing June 13th.
Okay, and please keep an eye on the space on our Facebook page or on our website or in the paper, because we'll have updates on that coming out. So, gentlemen, I'm going to let y'all introduce yourself as we wrap this show up today, and we're going to start on the viewer's right.
This is David Gray, news writer with the Livingston Parish News.
Hey, this is Rob DeArmond, sports editor with the Livingston Parish News.
And my name is McHugh David, publisher and editor in the news. Appreciate you guys out there for joining us for the Livingston Parish News Weekly Show. This is Group Therapy. It's when we get to sit down and talk about what's going on in Livingston Parish. Please remember the news is on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. We are once a week in print on Thursdays at $7 a month to get that in your mailbox. We're also online, www.livingstonparishnews.com. We hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.